guys, Jess from Peace Love Books and Shame here with my February wrap up. I did my mid-month wrap up already where I think I read 15 books. It might have been 14. And then I'm going to talk about the second half of the month in this video. And so I have read 13 books since then. So I will go ahead and link the previous video down below. This just cuts down on the time that these videos take for me and for you. And I don't dread the end of the month anymore because my videos were taking like 40 minutes to film, talking about like 30 books. And now it's going to take half that time. So I do also want to point out I'm actually wearing like a normal outfit today and not sweatshirts with sweatpants. I'm wearing pajama pants with this, but I put on a sweater today. Weekends I literally live in sweatshirts and I felt like today I should maybe spice things up a bit and wear my new sweater from Target, which I think is really pretty. Of course I went to Target for something else. Oh, I went for my iPad. When my iPad broke, I had to get a new one because my iPad was 7 years old and just stopped connecting to anything. Even though it worked fine, they're like, no, you gotta go buy a new one. So I bought a new one and just bought a sweater while I was there. But I'll go and get to the 13 books I read in February. And yeah, the first book I want to talk about is not part of that 13. I haven't finished it yet, but I do only have 20 pages left. So I'm gonna finish it today. Today's the 28th and I'm filming this. It is Know My Name by Chanel Miller. This is my nonfiction for the month. So just like anger inducing and impactful. Probably the one of the most important and impactful books I've ever read. Chanel Miller was the woman who was raped by Brock Turner, and this entails the event that happened and everything that happened after it. It was mostly really, she only talked about that night a little bit, and then all the rest is what happened to her the morning after it happened, all the way through the trial. And I want to say the trial ends like halfway through the book, and then the rest of the book is the aftermath. It's the, what is it called? The punishment that he gets. Wow, I'm blanking on the word. But the hearing for his punishment. I don't remember what that's called. But, and all the rest of like what happens and like how everyone's viewing her and how society's viewing her. Now it's talking about Stanford and how they're dealing with it or not dealing with it. And so this one is just such an important read in today's culture and how we as a society really put the victim through so much more trauma than what they went through in the original event that happened. Like this, I'm just shocked by what she went through of everything, especially like how the court systems just take so much time and don't really value the people who are being put into those situations. And so, cause like her hearing kept on being pushed back and pushed back and pushed back, and like she'd be ready and then it'd be like, oh, sorry, push back, and they're rearranging their whole lives for these things. And so it's just really good, and I would recommend picking this up. So the first book that I have to share with you, I think, is A Court of Frost and Starlight by Sarah J Maas. I don't think I talked about this in my previous wrap up. This one I listened to on audio and I gave it 1 star. It was absolutely pointless. In my opinion, it was a money grab by the publisher to just get more money from Sarah J Maas fans. This is book 3.1 in Court of Frost and Starlight, and it was literally Feyre asking what people are going to get her for her birthday and her complaining about wanting to paint. And I was like, your city was just literally destroyed by a war and you're just worried about paint? Okay. So it was just like super frivolous to me. Like there was literally no point, and it just made me not like the characters. And going off of that and into A Court of Silver Flames made me really hate Feyre and Rhys throughout the entirety of that book too. So don't read this if you are thinking about it. I thought it was completely pointless. Then I did pick up These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. I was so excited to read this. It was pitched as a Romeo and Juliet retelling in the 1920s in Shanghai, and I read this for the Lunar New Year readathon. I have my vlog up, I'll post that below. This one though, I gave 3 stars. As something being pitched as a Romeo and Juliet retelling, this romance did not do it for me whatsoever. Like, Romeo and Juliet is a tragedy, but it is so well known for the romance between Romeo and Juliet. This is not it at all, and the romance wasn't really like Romeo and Juliet other than the fact that they had feuding families, because she and him had a romance previously and they are from rival gang families and everyone knew that they liked each other, and then she went sent off to school and came back, and now there's this monster going around and terrorizing the city and they have to figure out who's doing it. And so Romeo and Juliet, I forget their actual names in here, Juliet and Roma, they end up kind of teaming up and then like have some romance, but it was just fine. I don't know, I feel like not a lot really happened until halfway through and things really started to pick up, and I'm just like annoyed that it was marketed as something and I really don't think it delivered on that aspect. So if there's feuding families, it doesn't have to be compared to Romeo and Juliet. So I was expecting more from this. I have much more coherent, in-depth thoughts of it in my reading vlog, so check that out. But I don't know if I would read the second one of this. I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. Next, I read Let Me Hold You by Alexandria House. This is book 2 in the McLean Brothers series. I gave this one 4 stars. Our hero is a basketball player. He is one of the brothers of the series, so he's related to the guy in the first one. Our heroine, she works for a nonprofit organization, and it's this place where they run camps, and the camp they're running has basketball players show up who are like pro basketball players to help little kids in camps, and so our hero shows up, and he is actually really into older ladies. Like, that's like his thing. She's not too much older than him. She's in her 30s, he's in his 20s, but she actually has a son who's 20 who is also in the NBA, and he is very, very overprotective of her. There are trigger warnings in here for domestic violence and child abuse, so be aware of that going into this, but her and the love interest end up really liking each other, but she has to hide it from her son because her son's super overprotective and would not understand, and he's getting angry though because he's like I like older women because there's not that drama, and I don't need to deal with like playing games, and like she can't be in public with him, and he's like, no, I'm an adult, I want a public relationship. And so that really kind of affects their relationship, and I enjoyed it. I do think they got together a little too soon. I've noticed that in all of these, they get together really quickly, and then the rest of it's like drama while they're together, which I don't always love, and so that's why I gave this a 4 star, but this one's probably my favorite in the series. I just really love the romance. I really liked how they got together and their dynamics, and with her family kind of being overbearing, and then his family being like, who's your new woman? And I really enjoyed it. Then I read for the Historical Hellions book club, I read Love Only Once by Joanna Lindsay, and this one I gave 5 out of 5 stars. It was so good. It's the first book in the Mallory series, and I read Gentle Rogue and I gave it 3 stars. I really wasn't impressed, so I didn't have high hopes going into this one. But this one is Nicholas and Regina's story, and they call her Reggie, which is confusing because Georgie is the heroine in book 3. But Reggie is an orphan, but she is raised by her uncles, and they're all super overprotective. If you like the overprotective, overbearing family kind of trope, you'll love this. And so every man that she has the prospect of marrying, they don't approve of him, and so she's like, fine, you find me a husband. And then she gets kidnapped by Nicholas accidentally because Nicholas is a rake. He is currently, his current mistress is playing games with him, and so he's like, fine, she wants to play games with me, I'll play games with her, and he wants to kidnap her. Reggie borrows her carriage, and he thinks that his mistress is inside, but it's Reggie, and so he kidnapped her accidentally, realizes his mistake, but her reputation is ruined, and so her uncles are all like, you have to marry her, let's duel if you don't. And so it goes from there, and it's so good. I will say Nicholas doesn't actually grovel enough at the end, but I really, really enjoy this one. There are trigger warnings though for infertility in here. I wasn't the biggest fan of how that plot played out with certain characters near the end. I wish it didn't villainize the character who was infertile because of her infertility, but I still really enjoy this book. I loved the drama in here. It's like a soap opera. It was just so fun. Like, she gets kidnapped a couple times, but like they're funny of the way they turn out, so I really enjoy this one. Then I listened to The Initiation by Nikki Sloan. This one I listened to the audiobook because everyone's been talking about it. Our heroine has to marry someone because her sister was supposed to marry him and now she can't, so she steps up to, and she's always had a thing for this guy, and there's this weird initiation they're waiting for. I gave this one a 3 out of 5 stars. I read this for a vlog, and I get annoyed when I almost finish a reading vlog and then I don't post it until the beginning of the month of the next month, because then you all hear my thoughts about it now, but still watch the vlog when it comes out to see my thoughts like in process. But I didn't think there was anything like appealing about what happened at the end. I gave it 3 stars, and it was just fine. And there was like a lot of drama going on at the end, and it just felt like a very dramatic new adult romance, which it was. So it was so fun. But I gave it 3 stars. Didn't love it, but didn't hate it. Then I read Higher Love by Alexandria House. This one is the first one in the Love After series. She is a travel vlogger or blogger, and she's going to a festival, and her fiance like ghosts her, and she's like, what the heck? And then figures out on Facebook that he's engaged to someone else. And so she has a fling with a guy at this festival, and then it turns out that she has to end up working with him, and it's their romance. I just like her other series, the McLean Brothers series. I gave this one 3 stars because they got together so quickly, and then the rest of it was a lot of jealous ex drama, and I already don't like it when the couple gets together too early, and then we add in jealous ex drama, and I'm not here for jealous ex drama. So this one was just okay. He especially had a really, really jealous ex that was going out of her way to try to ruin their relationship, and so I was annoyed, and then I was annoyed with her ex who was still in the picture, and so I gave it 5 stars. It was more like a me thing with the tropes. I still really like Alexandria House's writing, just like the decisions in this book were my favorite. I do have a vlog for the next one I read, and that is A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J Maas, the 750-page book I read in a weekend, and it flew by really fast. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I really love Nesta's journey she went on. Trigger warnings for trauma, talk of sexual assault, sexual abuse, and we have a lot of other characters coming together for their own trauma. Trigger warnings, especially for Nessa, for death of a loved one. She really feels like it's her fault and like she could have stopped it, and she keeps on remembering that, and she definitely has PTSD over it because it sticks with her for a long time in here. Different like things would trigger her, and it was really hard to watch her because she really lashes out at people she loves. People she loves don't treat her very well, and again, I hated Reese and Feyre in this one, but I really love the romance. It does have a lot more steamier scenes. If you're a romance reader, they're nothing out of the ordinary, but if you're not a romance reader, this is going to be a shock to you, but I still really love this. I will leave my review down below for you guys to check out. I did a non-spoilery vlog with a spoilery discussion at the end. So I really loved the found family aspect of here that she found with her friends, and so I'm excited for the next one whenever it comes out. I enjoyed this one. Don't like the cover, but that's okay. Then I picked up the audio of Learn My Lesson by Katie Robert, and this one is book 2 in the Wicked Villain series. This is a polyamorous romance between Hades, Meg, and Hercules, and I loved it so much. I think I gave it 4.5 stars. I really like the dynamic between the three because Hades and Meg have a sub-dom relationship, and then Hercules comes in and he thinks that Meg is being in that relationship against her will, so he makes a deal with Hades so that Meg doesn't have to do anything she doesn't want to, and so Hades like, sure, let's make that bet, and Meg is like, you're not very smart, are you? And so I definitely got that vibe like we do in like the Disney movie where Hercules is just not that smart. He does a lot of things with good intentions but doesn't think them through or figure out like the truth behind things before jumping in, and so if he just talked to Meg, he wouldn't have been in that situation. But there is a lot to deal with Hercules and Zeus because Hades and Zeus are enemies, but Zeus isn't a good guy. Like if you look at the actual mythology of Zeus, Zeus is a really bad god, and so they had that kind of aspect in here. I just really loved it. Definitely very steamy. This is at that club that Hades owns, so I really love the series though, so I can't wait to continue on. Then I read All Things Burn by Jodie Slaughter. This is a hitman romance, and so our heroine is being stalked. She's a lawyer for women who are abused, and so she works for this like non-profit organization, and she's being stalked by an ex, and she ends up asking a cousin for a hitman so that she can get rid of her stalker, and her cousin gives her Callum's name. Callum is an Irish hitman, and they fall for each other, and I was really enjoying the premise of this and the buildup of it, but then it took the entirety of the book to carry out the hit, which I felt like went on too long, and then we still had another 15% where it was like them being happy together. I don't know, it was just like the pacing was a little weird to me, and I feel like we didn't really get a lot of background between our heroine and her stalker because like they apparently had a romantic relationship and she thought she was in love with him, and then it kind of like broke down and he became obsessed, and I didn't get that. I didn't understand her relationship with him. She would like reference things that she felt with him and like what she said and what she let him do, but we never actually like understood clearly what happened. I think a flashback would have helped that, or her like really going into detail about their relationship and how that all actually happened, because we were just like, oh, this happened, and like we aren't actually told like what happened or how it happened. So I would have loved a little bit more background fleshed out with that, and it was just okay. I mean, I was, like I said, really enjoying the beginning, but then it just really kind of dragged to get to the final plot of the hit kind of thing. So I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. I really wanted to love it, and I really enjoyed the beginning, but it didn't carry on for the rest as much as I wanted it to for me. Then I read Let Me Show You by Alexandria House. This is book 3 in the McLean Brothers series. This one I gave 3 stars as well because our hero is one of the brothers, and he's working on this movie and hires the heroine to do it. She's actually the assistant of the heroine in book 1, and she's an actress, and so she gets the job, and at the beginning it was like he couldn't even like form sentences around her because he was so nervous, and then I feel like that just like completely went away and they were all sudden together. Again, they got together really quickly, and then he was annoying to me. I just gave this 3 out of 5 stars. It wasn't my favorite. I really didn't like the hero that much. I didn't really connect with him, so not my favorite in the series. Then I read Never Seduce a Scot by Maya Banks, and this one I gave 5 out of 5 stars. It is so good. This has the same kind of premise as Highland Spitfire by Mary Wine, I think was her name, and I really didn't like that one. This one was what I wanted from that plot. So Evelyn is our heroine, and she is deaf, but she doesn't let people know that she's like cognitively able, so she lets people think that she has cognitive delays because of her accident, and she doesn't really tell them that she can read lips and that she's just deaf, and so she's very intelligent still, and so they someone like demands that she marries the son of their rival clan because they need to stop this hatred between them and have them allies again, and so she is then sent off to marry him. I loved how patient he was, how patient his sister Rory was. I hope she gets a romance, and how like the clan really didn't accept her and she had to really work to have them accept her, and Graham had to like really put them in their place and be super protective of her and be like, stop treating her like this, she is my wife. And I absolutely loved that about our hero. I loved how they started falling for each other. Easily one of my new favorite historical romances. I absolutely loved it. I listened to the audiobook and the narration is so good as well. I definitely recommend this if you really want another Scottish romance because this was amazing. I loved it. 5 out of 5 stars. Not to leave us on a bad note, but the last book I read was A Touch of Darkness by Scarlett St. Clair. This one was our Ravished by Romance pick for February. We just had our live show last night. Everyone loved this book and I gave it 2.5 stars. It is a Hades and Persephone retelling. The first thing I had an issue with was the writing. It felt like very juvenile writing, and it was like something you would read on Wattpad. No offense to Wattpad, but it just felt very unfinished and like someone just trying out writing for the first time. She had a lot of explanations that weren't needed and a lot of like just dumped things, especially like, oh, here's this character and that's all we're gonna say about him, and then he's gonna show up 20% later, and I'm just like, what? And Persephone made such stupid decisions. So it's a retelling. Persephone is like being super protected by her mother, and so she's pretending to be a human to go to school, but in this society gods are like celebrities, and so they go to a club and Hades is there and Hades makes a bet with her, all this stuff. And so Persephone makes such stupid decisions. She's like, well, I probably shouldn't have done that, but I decided to do it anyways. And I'm like, she did that like 4 different times, and I was so annoyed with her character. And that on top of the really bad writing, in my opinion, that I just like kept on noticing, and I'm like, this is so bad, this is so bad. I just couldn't enjoy this book. So I gave it 2.5 stars, and I feel like Hades was not fleshed out at all. I know that there's a book from his perspective, but we still didn't really understand him or get to know him. I really liked his character because he was actually like a good guy, but I just felt like we only got that through her eyes, through her article writing, because she's a journalist too, writing an expose about Hades, and I don't feel like we didn't actually get to see that from him or like get to know him. He was just more like there. So I wasn't a fan of this. I'm like in the minority of it, but I was not a fan. I'm not going to continue on with the series. And that is my wrap up for the second half of February. Let me know down below what you read and what your thoughts were on what I read. I would love to hear. As always, thank you so much for watching and have a good day. Bye.